back with another episode. I think you're gonna like this one, guys. Today we're looking at The Truman Show. The Truman Show isn't really about reality television. To some extent, that's what you're presented on the surface with. It's really about a man raised inside a perfectly engineered world, and that world is designed to never want him to leave. And the thing is, once you start noticing the systems that are trying to control Truman, the drama, the fear, the artificial comfort, the film takes on a way more darker tone. That's something I want to speak about today. So, here's what you missed in The Truman Show. So let's start where everything all begins, the environment that Truman is put into. That is Seahaven. Now, on the surface, you can tell Seahaven was designed to be this sort of perfect community. It has an artificial sense of nostalgia. There's a sort of time period that we're not entirely sure about, maybe 1950s, something along those lines. And all of the residents in this community, they repeat the way in which they greet Truman. And they have this unrealistic form of politeness. And that politeness often feels rehearsed. So you get this quick sense that something is definitely not right. Seahaven isn't a town. It can kind of almost look at it like this closed loop of events. It's trying to be this utopia vision of a town to confine Truman. There's no visual chaos. There's no unpredictability. Those things that happen in normal societies that are often unwanted, but they lend themselves to the reality. And this isn't that where Seahaven's concerned. There's no unpredictability. There's no chaos. There's no sense of a threat within this actual society, within this community. And you can say the walls aren't necessarily physical, they're psychological. Now, this is the part that gets a little uncomfortable. Even though on the surface, you have Jim Carrey portraying Truman, and there's a certain kind of like comedic element to it. But this part is really quite uncomfortable, but it really serves the story well. With Truman, what good would he be without some kind of backstory, some trauma, some sense of tragedy that he needs to either heal from or that will affect him in his adult life? And they staged his father drowning, and that shouldn't be so comfortable, but you go with it anyway. So they staged the fact that his father drowned, and what does that do? That gives him a sense of trauma, a sense of fear and phobia. The water is something he suddenly becomes afraid of, and so they didn't block it, they just made him afraid of it. So control works best when the boundaries that we have are inside of us. And then you have the other form of control, and that is the product placements that come up. Now, when you're watching it, it's quite amusing, but when you think about it, there's quite heinous sense of marketing while we're watching the reality of this man's life. And the quick product placements, they tend to don't overstay, so it's something that he can't necessarily realize at first. And even his intimacy, even the moments where they manufacture intimacy between him and other characters, even those moments are monetized. So this film was saying a lot back then about where things could go and where things have gone. And above it all, we're all watching. We're all complicit in this moment in this man's life. And now we have the pivotal character in the whole film. And I guess he's viewed more as an antagonist to Jim Carrey's Truman being the protagonist. It's in his name, Christof. So it's the false god analogy. His voice is omnipresent. It sort of appears to come from the moon, and that moon being artificial anyway. So Truman often hears this voice and he understands that it's present, it's godlike in its way. And if you just take the quote that makes this all the more sinister, which is, we accept the reality of the world with which we are presented. It's as simple as that. That is, in a lot of ways, true. It's a great thought experiment in that way. So, Christof being played by the amazing, impeccable Ed Harris. He's the wealthy genius mind behind the whole thing, and he's the puppet master. He's the one pulling the strings. He's the antagonist of the whole film. He believes Truman is safer inside this fictitious created world, and you can definitely see in that way that there's, it's that classic thing of, if a villain believes what they're doing is right, we need to be able to see that there's a possibility of truth in their pursuit as well as complete insanity. So it's sort of the way they go about creating their version of the world. So we have to take a step back and look at who would be watching, because it's meta in that regard. We're watching audiences within the film watching this reality show. There's those layers. The thing about that is it's a sort of precursor to all the reality shows that have come since. As is the case with a lot of reality shows. When Truman leaves, the world doesn't mourn. It just looks for something else to watch. I think throughout this conversation about this film, I've hinted at the foreshadowing or the foreseeing of events when it came to TV. You could see that it was not only satirical, but it took what we thought about reality TV and it really threw everything into the mix of what could possibly happen. Let's go through some facts. We've got the Truman Show was released in 1998. It was before any kind of social media. It was before any live streaming or streamers becoming popular. And it was before people volunteered their lives to be a part of this manufactured world or type event. It didn't just predict reality TV. It predicted the normalization of reality TV. But within this film, what do we get? Truman chooses something else, described as the world he was living in. Just like the Matrix with Neo, he felt something wasn't right and he chose differently. If you're following up until this point, you will see the arc of events. You would also know that he's been given this trauma through manufactured events. He's affected. He starts with a wound in him, and that wound also keeps him from venturing out. It helps him to become afraid of water. I mean, these are all really controlling, manipulative things that really have a sinister tone to them. You have Christof, who was always trying to stop him from discovering the truth because he believed that Truman's better off in this idyllic version of utopia. But even in the height of his challenge, you have a protagonist that still knows what he wants and still goes forward anyway. Truman doesn't turn back. I think that's the shift. That's the moment where we truly understand, even though all of it has been manufactured, that is his authentic self. Truman realizes he has something of an existential awakening. He realized that the reality he's been given doesn't feel real.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
Chaos and order have to exist. We understand that, we feel that. And so if it's order all the time and comfort, we don't feel right. Despite his fear of water, decides to take this boat and go beyond where he can see. Use the water as a metaphor to basically move into a new world. And often water is used symbolically in that way. But the boat hits the sky. and in that moment, we're just waiting for his reaction. We understand what's going on, but we're also waiting for his reaction. So there's a meta element of his reality is meeting a new reality. The edge of his world isn't fire, it's a painted drywall. It's not like you get to the edge and you fall off. No, it's just a bloody painted drywall. The illusion of his world was always fragile. This angers Christof because of this containment that he made for Truman. And in some respects, because of his God complex, his final line is really important.
Listen to me, Truman. There's no more truth out there than there is in the world I created for you.
And I guess you can use that as he's not arguing about reality. He's arguing about comfort. He's arguing about, if I created this world for you and it has all the comfort, then that can be your reality. You don't need nothing else. But Truman doesn't care. He wants the real. He wants reality in the way we understand it to be. Comfort can't provide everything for you. You need unpredictability. You need nature and the indifference of nature to smash into you. It's the way in which we can overcome. It's the way in which struggle then becomes succeeding. The brilliance in the Truman Show is that it's not asking whether the world he inhabited was fake. We could all see that. We can all understand that. It's asking something a little more unsettling, and that is, if your life was safe, predictable, comfortable, would you ever question it? Truman did. That is the antithesis and the thesis of the actual film. Question and, to some respects, the answer.
I often think, and I'm asked about like what I think would have happened to Truman when he goes outside the wall, and it took me a while to realize that basically he was alone out there too, because everybody went back inside. They all wanted to be in the dome.
And there you have it. For me personally, I don't know about you guys, but it's like damn classic, stone cold classic, man. And is it a coincidence that it was made in '98 and The Matrix followed with very similar themes? Maybe not. I don't know. The Zenkais, you know, what's in the air sort of thing. But who was responsible? Peter Weir. He done Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams, another classic. He done Witness with Harrison Ford, another classic. And Master and Commander later. Absolute brilliant director. Australian, interestingly enough. And what great performances. What more can be said? I mean, Jim Carrey, perhaps one of his most finest roles to date, I would say. And if not the finest, it definitely ranks up there. You have Laura Lindley, brilliant as his wife. And Paul Giamatti in that little role, almost uncredited, if you will, but he added such sort of compassion in that role of his opposite Ed Harris. What a great film. I mean, it came out and it was far ahead of its time. It was a satirical look at what reality TV could be. And we've seen all shades of that, haven't we? Let's be honest, we've seen the good, the absolute bad of it all. So that's why I wanted to check this out today. So I hope you liked it. Stick around for the next one in the list, because I think it will be a good continuation. Until then, you guys take care. And if you have interest, you might want to check out the one I done before this, which sort of completes a trilogy of ideas and films, which is Take Shelter. All right. Well, what more can be said? Except good night, goodbye, and good morning. If I got that right.